A species born and raised in endless war, cold, ruthless, efficient. The alien female was bred like the rest, shaped for battle and survival. But she was different. Somewhere in her, hesitation flickered in the midst of violence. Where others in her kin killed without a thought, she faltered. That moment of doubt, that smallest spark of uncertainty, marked her as defective. She was a liability to the collective. Her people's way was absolute, no weakness tolerated, no imperfection forgiven. When they abandoned her, they did so without a second glance, leaving her alone on the planet's ravaged surface, another casualty of their merciless ways. Her first hours alone were filled with confusion and fear. She wasn't supposed to feel these things, but she did. Hunger gnawed at her, exhaustion settled into her bones. She had been trained to survive in hostile conditions, yet this was different. Surviving without a purpose, without belonging, this was something she had never been prepared for. Meanwhile, Sergeant Aaron moved through the desolate landscape with the sharp focus of a seasoned soldier. His squad was part of an elite reconnaissance unit, tasked with securing resources and gathering intel on the hostile territory. The war between humanity and the alien species had been brutal, and every encounter with them ended in violence. Orders were clear: avoid unnecessary conflict but engage if needed. There was no room for compassion. Aaron's calm crackled with updates from the squad, reminding him of the risks. The place was hostile ground. Nothing living here could be trusted, especially not the aliens that had taken so much from humanity. Aaron knew the protocols, knew the warnings, but there was a part of him that never quite fit into the rigid mold of military doctrine. He didn't question orders aloud, but there was always something in him, something that believed there had to be more to these creatures than just violence. The planet's surface stretched before him, broken and scarred by battle. As he scouted the area, he noticed movement, a figure crouching low among the wreckage. He raised his rifle, scanning the target. It was one of them. An alien, and a female at that. She was small for her kind, her body thin, shoulders slumped, as if the fight had long since drained out of her. She didn't charge or hiss, didn't move with the aggression Aaron expected. Instead, she crouched defensively, clutching her arms around herself. When she looked at him, there was no malice in her eyes, only fear. He had seen many aliens on the battlefield, their expressions filled with hatred or cold indifference. But this one, there was something different. A flicker of confusion, of pain, that cut through the layers of distrust Aaron carried. The rifle in his hands felt heavier. His training demanded action. Neutralize the threat or retreat. He knew that. But something deep inside him pushed back against those orders. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was not an enemy in that moment, just a creature, lost and abandoned. He slowly lowered his weapon, watching her reaction. She snarled half-heartedly, more out of instinct than intent, as if expecting him to shoot. But when no shot came, her snarls wavered. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, two beings on opposite sides of a war, connected by a strange, shared stillness. Aaron's heart pounded in his chest. His calm buzzed in his ear, reminding him of protocol, but he switched it off without thinking. The world narrowed to just the two of them. Taking a step forward, he raised his hands slowly, palms out, a gesture of peace. The alien shifted, muscles tense, ready to bolt or attack. Aaron didn't move closer. He just stayed there, patient, waiting for her to understand he meant no harm. After what felt like an eternity, her shoulders sagged slightly. The sharpness in her gaze dulled, replaced by exhaustion. Aaron took that as permission. Slowly, carefully, he reached for the latch on his helmet and removed it, the hiss of decompression barely audible in the tense air. His face, bare and vulnerable, felt exposed under her gaze. He stepped closer cautiously, until he stood directly in front of her. She flinched, her breathing uneven, ready for the blow that always followed in her world. But Aaron did something she never expected, something she had never experienced in her life. He leaned down and pressed his forehead gently against hers. It was not a gesture of dominance or control but of understanding. A wordless offering of peace. The alien froze. Her kind did not touch unless in combat. There was no concept of tenderness among them. Yet, in that brief connection, something stirred deep within her, something she didn't know she could feel. The warmth of his skin against hers was unfamiliar, but it wasn't unpleasant. It was strange, soothing even. Her breathing hitched, her body trembled, and before she could stop herself, tears welled in her eyes. She had never cried before. Her kind did not cry. But now, in the presence of this strange human who had chosen not to harm her, the walls she had built around her heart cracked, and the tears came. Aaron felt the subtle shake of her body beneath his touch and pulled back slightly to meet her gaze. Her eyes shimmered with something he didn't fully understand, something raw and broken, yet undeniably alive. He didn't say anything. Words would have been meaningless in that moment. The alien, overwhelmed, let the tears flow freely. It wasn't sadness, not exactly. It was the release of emotions she had never been allowed to feel, grief, relief, confusion, all tangled together in that fragile moment. Aaron offered a small, reassuring smile, though he knew she probably didn't understand the gesture. He reached out slowly, offering her a small pouch of water from his kit. She hesitated, then took it, her claws brushing against his fingers for the briefest moment. There, among the ruins of war, a fragile connection was born, one not built on orders or expectations, but on a simple act of kindness. Neither of them knew what it meant yet, or how it would change them. But for the first time in her life, the alien felt something other than fear or pain. And for the first time in a long time, Aaron felt something beyond the cold detachment of a soldier. He felt hope. The alien follows from a distance, her steps hesitant but persistent. She doesn't understand why she stays near the human, only that being close to him feels safer than the crushing solitude that pressed down on her earlier. Aaron notices her trailing him, silent, watchful, but he doesn't push her away. He should, according to protocol, yet something in him refuses to. She isn't just another enemy. Something in her eyes, the fear, the uncertainty, makes it clear. She's more than what they've been taught to believe about her kind. At first, their journey together is awkward. The alien doesn't come too close, and Aaron pretends not to notice her lingering presence just beyond reach. It's clear she's unsure if she can trust him, but she doesn't leave either. Aaron pulls out a ration pack, eats some himself, then sets a portion down on a rock between them. She stares at it, tense, as if expecting a trap. He keeps his movements slow, non-threatening, offering it without expectation. After several long moments, she edges closer and sniffs the food cautiously. When nothing bad happens, she snatches it quickly and retreats, eating in silence. This becomes their rhythm. Aaron offers food, water, and rest when they stop. She mimics his movements from afar, how he eats, how he drinks. Each time, she gets a little closer. When he hunkers down to rest, she stays near, still watching him like a cornered animal ready to bolt, but with a bit less fear each time. Trust is slow in forming, a cautious exchange of actions rather than words, but Aaron doesn't push it. He knows that trust isn't built overnight, especially with someone who's never known kindness. Aaron realizes early on that verbal communication won't work between them. She doesn't seem to understand his language, and her own attempts to vocalize sound like soft clicks and hums, foreign and strange. But she's observant, watching him with sharp eyes that miss nothing. Aaron leans into nonverbal cues, offering her what little comfort he can through gestures. A small nod when she gets closer. A hand held palm up to show there's nothing to fear. At first, she flinches at any movement he makes toward her, but over time, the flinches become less pronounced, her muscles less rigid. One night, as they camp beneath the ruins of an old structure, Aaron offers her another ration, then lies back on his pack to sleep. He doesn't expect her to trust him enough to stay close, but when he wakes in the middle of the night, she's there. Not too close, but sitting upright a few feet away, her eyes glowing faintly in the darkness as she watches over him. It's a strange thing, being guarded by someone who was supposed to be his enemy. But in that moment, it doesn't feel strange, it feels right. Their bond deepens not through grand gestures, but through small, meaningful acts. She keeps watch while he sleeps, and in return, Aaron makes sure she's fed and hydrated. There's no need for words. The unspoken understanding between them grows, filling the space where language would have fallen short. The alien starts mimicking Aaron's mannerisms more often, tilting her head when he does, matching his pace as they walk. She even attempts to smile once, her sharp-toothed expression more alarming than reassuring, but Aaron offers a genuine grin in return. It's awkward, clumsy, but sincere. And that's enough. The first real test of their bond comes sooner than either of them expects. As they cross a canyon littered with debris, they are ambushed. A group of hostile alien scouts, her own kind, descends upon them, weapons drawn, their intentions clear. Aaron reaches for his rifle, ready to defend himself, but before he can react, the alien steps in front of him, shielding him with her body. Aaron's heart pounds. She's terrified, he can see it in the way her limbs tremble, but she doesn't move aside. She's choosing to protect him, even though it means standing against her own people. That single act of loyalty stuns Aaron more than any battle he's fought before. This isn't just instinct or survival. She's making a choice, one that goes against everything she's ever known. The fight that follows is brutal, fast, and chaotic. The hostile scouts attack without mercy, their blades glinting in the dim light. Aaron fires his rifle, every shot precise, but the numbers are against them. He ducks and weaves, taking cover behind the jagged remains of the canyon, but his alien companion fights differently, feral and desperate, each movement raw with emotion. She slashes, blocks, and snarls, her body a blur of motion as she stands between Aaron and danger. At one point she takes a hit, sharp claws rake across her side, and a pained hiss escapes her lips. But she doesn't falter. Instead, she presses forward, driving her attackers back with a fury Aaron has never seen before. Together they move as one, their actions synchronized in a way that feels natural, effortless. Aaron covers her blind spots, and she covers his, either needing to speak to know what the other will do next. When the last hostile scout falls, silence settles over the canyon. Aaron's breathing is ragged, his body aching from the fight, but he's alive. And so is she. The alien stands a few feet away, panting, blood trickling from the wound on her side. For a moment, they simply stare at each other, both realizing the significance of what just happened. Aaron approaches her cautiously, unsure how to express what he feels. Gratitude seems too small a word for what she's done. Instead of speaking, he extends a hand toward her wound, offering help. She stiffens for a moment, but then, slowly, she allows it. Aaron pulls out a medkit, carefully tending to the injury. She watches him closely the entire time, her eyes filled with something new, something that feels like trust. In that moment, Aaron realizes she isn't just following him out of fear or desperation. She's chosen to stay. Chosen to fight by his side, not because she has to, but because she wants to. It's a partnership forged not by orders or necessity, but by something deeper. For the alien, it's the first time she's experienced what it means to care for someone, to fight for someone, not out of obligation, but out of choice. And for Aaron, it's a reminder of something humanity often forgets in war, that trust, once earned, is the strongest bond of all. When Aaron's squad finally catches up with him, the mood shifts from relief to disbelief. They stand frozen, weapons half-raised, trying to comprehend what they see, their sergeant alive and standing beside an alien, one of them. It's not just any alien but one that should have been their enemy, the same species responsible for years of bloodshed and loss. The squad doesn't see a lost, scared creature or a sign of hope. They see a threat, a betrayal wrapped in alien skin. "What the hell are you doing, Aaron?" one of them demands, his voice thick with disbelief. "You know what those things did to us." The others mutter in agreement, tension rising with each passing second. Their rifles remain pointed, fingers twitching near the triggers. Aaron steps between them and the alien, raising a hand in a silent warning. "She's not what you think," he says, his voice low but firm. His squad stares at him, eyes hard with anger. They remind him of the lives lost, comrades gone, the families left behind because of the war with her kind. They hammer him with words meant to shake his resolve, but Aaron doesn't waver. This isn't about orders, Aaron replies. This is about doing what's right. She's not our enemy. His squadmates scoff, accusing him of losing perspective, of being naive in a war where kindness gets people killed. But Aaron doesn't back down. The easy thing would be to abandon her, to act like every other soldier, but he refuses. Empathy, he believes, isn't a weakness. It's the only way forward, the only way to stop the cycle of hate that's consumed both sides. The alien listens quietly, her gaze shifting between Aaron and the humans confronting him. She doesn't fully understand the words, but she understands the tone, the anger, the rejection. It's painfully familiar. She remembers the way her own people cast her aside without hesitation, labeled as defective for feeling what they refused to acknowledge. And now, here it is again. Different faces, different species, but the same rejection. Yet, this time, something is different. Aaron doesn't abandon her. He stands between her and the squad, refusing to let their fear dictate his actions. It's strange for the alien, seeing someone defend her without expecting anything in return. Gratitude stirs within her, unexpected and unfamiliar, but undeniable. No one has ever fought for her before, not like this. The human's disgust is palpable, and even though she has faced worse, it still cuts deep. They look at her with the same disdain her own kind once did, as if she is less than, something to be discarded. But this time, it doesn't feel as hopeless. Aaron's presence shifts the weight of rejection, making it bearable in a way she never thought possible. For the first time, she realizes that rejection hurts less when there's someone willing to stand beside you. The squad gives Aaron one last chance to leave her behind. They warn him that taking her along will jeopardize them all, that she can't be trusted, that they've lost too much already to make exceptions now. Aaron's response is simple and final. Then you'll have to go without me. The squad exchanges glances, disbelief etched across their faces. One by one, they lower their weapons, realizing that Aaron won't budge. There's frustration, anger, even pity in their expressions, but no one says another word. They leave him behind, muttering under their breath, unwilling to fight one of their own over an alien. Aaron watches them go without regret, feeling the weight of his choice settle in, but it's a weight he's willing to carry. That night, the alien sits close to Aaron as he tends to the scratches and bruises from their earlier fight. Her kind are not used to touch, not like this, anyway. Healing was a solitary task, and pain was seen as something to endure, not soothe. She watches him with quiet fascination as he works carefully, his hands moving with a strange gentleness that feels foreign, almost unreal. He doesn't speak much, only small murmurs when he bandages a wound or applies disinfectant, but the alien feels the care in every motion. The fire crackles softly between them, casting warm light on their faces. The alien shifts awkwardly, her mind grappling with emotions she has no name for, gratitude, guilt, confusion, all tangled together in a knot she doesn't know how to unravel. She thinks of the way Aaron defended her earlier, standing against his own people for her sake. The memory feels heavy, significant in a way that unsettles her. She hesitates, then leans forward slightly, resting her forehead gently against his. It's the only way she knows how to express what she feels, a silent apology, a thank you wrapped in a gesture she has come to associate with him. She doesn't have words for what this moment means, but she hopes he will understand. Aaron pauses, caught off guard by the gesture. A slow smile spreads across his face, and without hesitation, he mirrors her movement, pressing his forehead back against hers. The touch is brief but meaningful, a wordless exchange that says everything they cannot put into words. You're not alone. I'm here. We're in this together. For the alien, this moment marks a profound shift in her understanding. In her world, love was a concept for the weak, a vulnerability to be exploited. But here, with Aaron, she sees it for what it truly is, strength. The kind of strength that doesn't come from domination or fear but from standing beside someone, even when the world tells you not to. Aaron pulls back, offering her a small, reassuring nod before returning to his work. The alien settles down beside him, closer than before, the tension in her body easing slightly. She doesn't fully understand what's happening between them, But she knows this much: Aaron's kindness isn't a trick or a trap. It's real. And that realization makes all the difference. In that quiet moment by the fire, the alien feels something she's never experienced before: a sense of belonging. It's fragile, tentative, but it's there, flickering like the embers between them. For the first time, she allows herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she isn't as alone as she thought. The wind howls over the battlefield, carrying with it the scent of ash and dust. Aaron and the alien stand shoulder to shoulder, back straight, both knowing what is coming. Her kind has returned, led by one of their most fearsome warlords, determined to erase any trace of her betrayal. The warlord stands tall among the gathering soldiers, eyes filled with contempt as they fixate on the alien who abandoned them. There is no room for second chances in their world. She is either with them or against them, and now they will make her pay for that choice. The first blow falls without warning. The alien warlord charges forward, signaling the attack, and chaos erupts. Aaron fires his rifle with precision, every shot calculated, but the alien warriors move fast, their assault relentless. The alien fights beside him, her movements sharp and precise. There's no hesitation in her now, no faltering. This time, she fights not just for survival but for him. Each slash, every block, is driven by a fierce determination to keep Aaron safe. Blades clash, shots ring out, and the ground trembles beneath the fury of the battle. Aaron and the alien move as one, their partnership seamless despite the odds against them. She takes down two attackers in rapid succession, her body a blur of movement, but the warlord is already closing in. His voice cuts through the noise, mocking her in their shared language, a final offer. "Return to your people," the warlord growls, his expression one of cruel amusement. "Leave the human, and you can live. Fight with him, and you die together." The alien pauses for the briefest moment, her breath ragged. This is the choice she has dreaded, the moment when she must decide once and for all who she truly is. Her gaze flickers to Aaron, battered but still standing, unwavering in his trust for her. He makes no demands, offers no pleas. He doesn't need to. She knows the choice she must make. And she makes it without regret. With a low, guttural snarl, she turns her back on the warlord, placing herself between him and Aaron. The warlord's eyes narrow in fury, realizing what her choice means. There will be no forgiveness. No mercy. She has chosen love over loyalty to her kind, and for that, there can be no redemption. The warlord lunges toward Aaron, but she moves faster. Despite the exhaustion dragging at her limbs, she fights with a ferocity she has never known. Each strike is filled with purpose, not rage, an expression of something deeper than anger, more powerful than fear. She isn't just fighting for herself, she's fighting for Aaron, for the bond they've built, and for the freedom to decide who she wants to be. Aaron takes a hit, a sharp, brutal slash across his side, and drops to one knee, gasping. Pain shoots through his body, and for a moment, everything narrows to that single wound, the weight of it threatening to pull him under. But then he feels her hand on his shoulder, steadying him. "Stay down," she growls softly, her voice thick with emotion. There's no fear in her now, only resolve. Aaron watches through blurred vision as she turns back to the warlord, her stance unyielding. This is her fight now, and she will not lose. With a final, powerful strike, she drives her weapon deep into the warlord's chest, ending the battle with a grim finality. The warlord falls, and with him, the remaining soldiers retreat, unwilling to face the fury of someone who has nothing left to lose. Silence settles over the battlefield, broken only by Aaron's labored breathing. The alien kneels beside him, her hands quick but gentle as she checks his wound. It's deep, but not fatal. He'll live. Relief flickers across her face, but it's more than that. There's something new in her expression now, something softer. She doesn't have the words for it yet, but she knows what it is. Aaron meets her gaze, his breath shallow but steady. "You didn't have to do that," he says quietly. She tilts her head slightly, as if confused by his words. Then, slowly, she presses her forehead to his, a gesture that has come to mean everything between them. This time, it's not just gratitude or apology. It's love, pure and simple. Eren smiles, a small, tired smile, and returns the gesture. They stay like that for a moment, connected by something that transcends language or species. When the fight is over, and the dust settles, they walk away from the battlefield together. There are no grand speeches, no promises made. They simply leave, side by side, into a world that neither of them fully understands but are willing to face together. In the days that follow, stories begin to spread. Soldiers on both sides whisper about the human and the alien who fought not as enemies but as partners. Some call it madness, others a miracle. But the story takes on a life of its own, growing with each retelling, a legend of two beings from different worlds, bound not by duty or survival, but by love and trust. The bond between them becomes a symbol, proof that empathy can bridge even the deepest divides. Those who hear the story are forced to question the old narratives, to reconsider what they know about enemies, allies, and the spaces in between. The war doesn't end overnight, but the legend plants a seed of hope. If two beings from opposite sides of a conflict can find common ground, perhaps others can too. As Eren and the alien move forward into the unknown, they carry with them the weight of their shared experiences, every battle, every moment of trust, every quiet exchange that shaped who they become. They don't know what the future holds, but they know one thing for certain: they are no longer alone. Together they've proven that love isn't just for those who are alike, it's for those who dare to see beyond differences, to choose compassion in the face of fear. It's for those who understand that strength isn't measured by how tightly you hold on to hatred, but by how willingly you open your heart to something new. And as they disappear into the horizon, the legend of their bond lives on, a quiet reminder that in even the darkest moments, love is possible. Not easy, not perfect, but possible. And that makes all the difference.